Welcome. So before I get into it, I'll give a bit of time for people to come in, but I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys have been having a good day so far. And I'll keep this one nice and brief and nice and short. Let me give it a minute or two. But yeah, what's happening, gang? If there's anything you guys are up to, feel free to drop it in the chat. But basically, I'll let people drop in as they come. But basically today, guys, I want to talk about stress, and particularly how we can control our stress so that we can minimize binge eating and having it affect our exercise. And the main reason for this is because a lot of the people that I work with that are in corporate jobs, high level jobs where there's a lot of pressure, stress can be really detrimental to your ability to perform in the gym, your ability to perform even in your day-to-day, and it can really wreak havoc on your hormones and your strength levels. So I want to talk about some of the things we can do to minimize stress, and also the positive effect that's going to have on your day-to-day life, your physical performance in the gym, your health, and your fitness levels. And also it's going to help even in your day-to-day work and so on and so forth. So I'll try and keep this one nice and short. If there are any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop it in the chat and I will get back to you. So if you can, and if you're listening to this and you're able to type in the chat, let me know, do any of these things cause stress in your life? Family, kids, partner, siblings, friends, relationships, work, probably one of the biggest ones, illnesses, any kind of big life event, anything like that. If they have, just put a yes in the chat for me, because I know for me, definitely one of the things that caused stress, like a big life event, was like moving countries. I moved from the US back to the UK. That was a big stressful moment in my life. And it could be anything. So many things can kick off your stress, right? It's not just one thing. So understanding that will give you the key and the power to manipulate these situations and recognize when you are feeling stressed, what you can do to tackle that, because there's going to be loads of different stressors in our lives in general. So if any of these things relate to you and you've had some stress in these areas, this will be quite useful for you. So one of the things that we need to understand when it comes to stress is that high levels of stress can literally wreak havoc on your body. A combination of all these things. Yeah, exactly. It's never just one thing, right? It is all of them. High stress can really cause havoc on the body. One of the things, and a lot of the research shows us, that it can lead to poor recovery. So let's say I've had a tough day in the gym. Usually, you get a bit sore the next day. But if you're really, really stressed, that soreness can continue even longer, right? And then if you're not recovering quickly, it's harder for you to get back in the gym as soon as you would usually. Another thing is, from a hormonal perspective, too much stress can elevate your cortisol levels. If your cortisol levels is too high, it's hard for your body to actually burn fat. So again, we want to make sure that we're keeping our stress levels low if you want to stay nice and lean and energetic. Cognitive function and focus. I think this is kind of a basic thing and it goes without saying, but if you are too stressed, it's going to affect your decision making. It's going to affect how well you can focus throughout the day, so on and so forth. And then in extreme cases of high stress, it can even cause memory loss and cause you to just forget simple, basic things that you would remember on a normal day-to-day basis. So in regards to your health and your fitness, stress can sometimes really create a vicious cycle, because what happens is, when you're really stressed, you find more excuses to try and miss going to the gym, right? So it makes you less likely to find the time to go to the gym. When you're highly stressed, your motivation decreases, which then can increase the risk of injury and inflammation. And that leads to poor recovery, which then ruins your sleep. But then doesn't even end here, because if your sleep gets ruined, what happens? You're sleeping less because of the stress, which then ruins your hormones. And we have a hormone in our body called ghrelin. This is a hunger hormone. This decides how hungry we are. If ghrelin is too high, you end up wanting to eat more. You eat more, guess what? You gain more weight, you get more stressed. So essentially, welcome, Lizzie. Essentially, being highly stressed becomes a vicious cycle when it comes to losing weight, because your hormones all over the place. You're not getting enough sleep, which then ruins your hormones again and causes you to be more hungry, which then leads you to eating more food, which then causes you to gain more weight. So from a weight perspective and a training perspective, stress can actually just cause this vicious cycle when it comes to trying to lose weight. So one thing I mentioned is obviously the cortisol levels, right? Elevated cortisol levels can cause your hormones to get out of whack. It influences your metabolism, according to a study at Ohio University. I already explained this, right? It affects your sleep, which affects your hunger hormones. But then if we think about it, it can also affect your blood pressure, and it can cause you to actually crave more sugary foods. And then one of probably the most important part of this, and something that I think people kind of overlook when it comes to being highly stressed, is some of the research actually shows us that having too much stress can cause the fat to actually deposit in the abdominal area, so in your stomach, which we don't want, because there's two types of body fat. You've got visceral fat and you've got subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is the fat that lays around your organs. Now, this is dangerous. So when you see, so maybe like some guys, they have like a bare belly, stuff like that, that can actually be dangerous, because the fat around your organs basically can cause things like the heart disease, the blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. So you wouldn't think that stress can cause all of this, but stress can be the triggering point for all of these things, which obviously as people trying to get in shape, we want to try to avoid. So I want us to think about some of the things we can actually do to minimize stress. You can never completely eliminate stress in your life, right? If you've got kids, if you've got family, if you've got a partner, if you've got a high level job that's causing you to be on your feet all day and take loads of Zoom calls and have intense meetings, you're never going to get rid of stress. But what we need to learn to do is actually minimize stress. So these are 8 things that we're going to go through that are going to help you minimize stress. So the first thing is going to be a flotation tank. If you've ever heard of a flotation tank, drop a yes in the chat. If you haven't, I'm going to share with you what that is, and it's pretty cool. I like to do this like every 2 weeks, or sorry, every 2 months or so, and it's pretty cool. I recommend everybody just try a flotation tank. You literally sit in the darkness for about an hour. It's pretty cool, and it really does help with your stress levels. Yoga, if you do yoga, okay, Amy, you've done it before, good. It's lovely, right? If you do yoga, again, that's definitely going to help. It's just relaxing. It's going to help with your stress levels for sure. The third one I would say is a bit more, this is personal to you, but self-care. Now, self-care can look differently to everybody, but the main point I want to make with self-care is it needs to be something that is not detrimental to your health and to your performance in the gym, because that wouldn't be self-care, right? So self-care is not me going out every Friday drinking alcohol with my friends because it makes me feel good. That's actually not self-care. Self-care needs to be something that builds you up, doesn't tear you down, in a sense. So think about what you enjoy doing that's actually good for you. That's really what you need to do. One of the major things is a full night's sleep. People don't understand the value of getting a good night's sleep. How many of you get less than 6 hours of sleep at night? If you are, and you're stressed as well, that's something to easily try to think about. If you're big on social media, someone put their hands up. iPhone. I don't know who that is. Who's iPhone, man? You ain't got your name. If you're big on social media, taking a social media detox, again, great way to Joelle, okay, welcome. Another thing is a massage. You can get a massage fairly cheap cost, depending on where you are in the world, but you can get a good sports massage. You can get a Thai massage, maybe like 20-30 bucks, 20-30 pounds. You can get them for a good price. Massage is a great way because it's not just the mental stress, it's also the physical stress, and having your muscles actually released can actually release physical tension and stress within the body. Again, if you do that, it can help you in other areas. Now, obviously, for me, one of the biggest things is exercise. If you're exercising, it's been well known that exercise can help minimize stress because it's giving you an opportunity to blow off steam, build muscle. And if you have more muscle, and actually there's more research that indicates that the stronger your body is physically, it actually helps with mental stress, which is quite interesting. But there is research that suggests that the more physically strong you are, the more likely you are, the more resilient you are to stress, which is quite interesting piece of research. And then lastly is to reduce your caffeine. I wouldn't say no coffee. I put no coffee here, but I wouldn't say to completely eliminate coffee. If you drink coffee, I'm with you. I drink coffee too, but I drink like 1 cup a day, sometimes probably like 4 cups in a week, 5 cups in a week. But if you're having like 3-4 cups of coffee a day and you're also very stressed, caffeine eventually will start to wear off. So you're not even getting any benefit of it, but you're becoming highly alert and highly sensitive. So my advice is, if you are highly stressed, I would consider lowering the amount of caffeine you're taking, whether that's through energy drinks or coffee. I would consider limiting that. Now, before I even get to any Q&A, if there is any, I want to drop something in the chat, and I also want to quickly explain, in terms of training, how you can use these things to benefit you, and also quickly show you guys, if you're able to look at the screen, what I meant by a flotation tank, if you haven't done it before. So basically, it looks kind of scary but you basically just sit in this pod and it will close, and you literally lay in the darkness for like an hour. It's probably the most relaxing thing I've ever done. If I'm stressed, I try to do one of these. So every 2 months, I just get one done. Just resets my whole mindset, makes me feel good, gives me a break from social media, friends, family, partner, whatever it may be. You get a little break. It's like you're in your own world for an hour. But in regards to training, one of the things I would say is, another thing that's going to help you is literally planning as if your gym session is like a work meeting, because 99% of us never miss a meeting that's in our calendar, right? If we've got a Zoom meeting or a webinar or something to attend, when we put it in our diary, we don't miss it. But for some reason, when it comes to health, training, fitness, we seem to not value it the same. But the thing is, I like to use a saying that you can't pour from an empty cup. So what you want to try and do is use your diary, use your Google Calendar, use your iCloud calendar, whatever you use, and plot in your exercise as if it's a workout. So plot in your exercise as if it's a meeting, sorry. So put 1 hour in the diary and look at your diary and look at where you can fit it in. Set it as a meeting. Make sure you've got like a reminder that reminds you half an hour before it's supposed to start, and treat it with that kind of respect, and you're less likely to miss it. And again, once you get these things in order, you're less likely to be stressed out by it, because you've put it in your diary and you've treated it with the respect it deserves. When you don't treat it with respect, what happens? And you're not organized, what happens? It gets messy, you miss workouts, you're not happy with how you look, you get more stressed. And again, it might affect your sleep, it might affect how you feel, it might affect your confidence, it might affect your relationship, depending on, how badly or how good you feel with how you are right now. And I don't just mean like looks in the mirror, I also mean how you perform in terms of your physical fitness, because that plays a role. When you know you're strong, when you know you've got energy, when you know you've got fitness, you're more confident, so then you're less stressed. And obviously you feel good about yourself. No, I'm not just talking about looks, because looks is only one part. That's only one part. But when you perform well, it's easy. So that's pretty much that. That's kind of how, those are the things that I would look to. And I want to just go back to this page real quick. Let's just go back here. And it doesn't matter what one you decide to pick. It might be a combination of these things. You got to think about what you can fit in your diary with family, with work. What can you actually start to do? And don't do a full sweep. It needs to be one thing that you can actually start to implement and then build it up over time. But what I would like to do, for those of you that are interested, I'm going to just put in the chat my availability for more of a personal conversation, and I'm going to upload, I believe I have a stress guide or definitely a sleep guide in here. Sleep guide. Right, I'm going to upload a sleep guide as well for you guys in the chat. So I've just put in like a sleep guide in the chat as a PDF file for you guys. And also, if you want to book in more of a personal one-to-one conversation, I have just left my link in here. Do I have any questions? Doesn't have to be about this. Could be about training, nutrition, anything that you need some advice on, anything that you're working on physically. feel free to drop it in the chat. I've also put the sleep guide in there, and also the link to book in a personal call with me if you want more of a personal look at where you're at right now, and if you've got some goals by Christmas, because I know a lot of people, they want to try and get it in by Christmas. And I think it's important that, you know, if you can try to at least start making headway in the next 2 months, you'll be surprised at where you'll be physically by the time we get into the new year. So yeah, any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute. I will continue to stay on here for at least another 2 to 3 minutes. So go ahead. I know we got one question about nutrition, training. How much protein should I have? I can't sleep. What should I do? I want to know what exercises to do for each muscle group. Well, that's a very broad question, Lizzie. So what I will do, that's a very broad question. So what I will do is I will drop in, let me put in a training guide for you, 7-day training guide, 7-day training program. I've just dropped in a little training program for you in the chat. Let me know if you guys can see that. But something like that, Lizzie, I'd have to speak to you a bit more personally to know where you're at physically and what you're actually able to do, because that's quite a broad question, because you could do any exercise for any muscle group really. So I'd need to know like what level you're at, what you've done in the past, for example, and then kind of break it down. So I've just put my link in the chat as well if you want to book more of a personal call. But I've also put a training guide in there as well, guys. So there's 2 things in the chat to download before you guys leave this call: the sleep guide and training. What if your workout routine and nutrition are the source of the stress? That is a great question. Then that probably means that your nutrition and workout routine needs to be adjusted. That would mean it needs to be adjusted, because training can cause stress in one main way, and that's by overtraining or doing too much, right? But if you're doing too much and the other areas aren't right, so you're not getting enough sleep, then training and having minimal sleep is obviously going to cause stress on the body physically, and then that's going to manifest itself mentally too. Nutrition, when you say nutrition causing stress, I'm not sure if you're able to expand on that a little bit, but would that mean as in like you're not sure what to eat, you feel confused by eating, eating makes you feel sad or poorly, or because that's kind of a difficult one to answer, because I'm not quite sure how nutrition can be the source of stress, unless we're talking about maybe not feeling confident. Okay, yeah, cool. So yeah, with that being said, then again, it would be looking at adjusting your nutrition, and then the easiest way to kind of approach that, in my opinion, is to firstly review what you're eating, and then you're gonna have to go through some kind of educational process of understanding how much to eat, because the reality is this: you can actually eat whatever you want, so there shouldn't be any guilt around what you eat, because you can eat whatever you want to lose weight. But the problem when people say that is, you can eat whatever you want, but you need to know how much of it you're eating. So if you can work out what your calories should be, then you can have any type of food you want. And then once you work that out, it's easy. So my starting point would be to go, I'll kind of give you guys a quick, if you guys can still see the screen, I'll quickly kind of look at something for you. Something you can do is go TDE Calculator. Let's see if this will work. If I can do this right now. So this is a great website to work out like what your calories should be. It's called TDE Calculator. I'll put this in the chat as well for you guys. Just go everyone in the meeting, boom. And you just put in your weight here. So I'll just do myself quickly, 26, whoops. I'm about 200 pounds right now, maybe, or 195, something like that. 6 foot. I train every day. So let's just put heavy exercise, calculate. So this gives me a bit of an idea of what my numbers should be, right? I should eat about 3,000 calories to maintain my current weight. Now, this number is not an exact science. This is like a rough idea. It tells me what I could potentially achieve physically through body fat percentage, blah, blah, blah. And then it tells me what I should do if I want to cut my weight. So cutting calories. So I know if I want to lose weight, I need to be doing at least 2,800 calories. That's like my baseline. And then I use this number and then I start tracking my food with my fitness pal. Now I can't go through all of that today because that's more of a personal thing. I'd have to show you that. And I obviously I do that for the people that I work with, but I've got videos I can send you with specifically how to track food. Now, if I know that this is the number that it takes for me to lose weight, the next thing I would do is I would look at what I'm eating right now, what's got a lot of calories in it and what has less calories in it. I'll try and minimize the food that has too much calories, and I'll try and eat more of the food that has less calories, so I can still eat loads of food, but I have less calories in my diet and I'm hitting my calorie number. It doesn't, you don't have to track everything, but once you start hitting that baseline and you're either losing weight or gaining weight, whatever your goal is, then you can adjust things. Because let's say I do 2,800 calories and I'm not losing weight. If that happens, then I'm going to lower that number again. I'm going to lower it to 2,600, 2,400 until I'm losing weight consistently. And as long as my training's right, my sleep is right, then you would see success. So in regards to being stressed, in regards to training and nutrition being the source of stress, that just means you need to adjust what you're doing right now, and probably need to undertake some kind of educational process around what you're currently doing and get some support on that, because the food definitely shouldn't be causing stress for anybody. That's a good question though. That is a great question, because I definitely think that, yeah, food and training can cause stress, especially when you're not seeing the results that you want to see. Cool. Any other questions then? Just remember, I've put my link in here for anybody that wants to have more of a personal talk on this, and I will be sending out a replay of this. Okay, great. So how do I control constant hunger? Great. That's a great question. So there's two things that I think you need to consider if you feel like you're hungry all the time. The first thing is how much protein you're getting in your diet. So you should be getting at least 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. So just to make that clear, let's say I weigh 200 pounds and I'm 20% body fat. That means that, what's 20% of 200 pounds? That's 40 pounds. So that means 40% of my body is fat. So 160% of my 160 pounds of my body is lean mass. So that means 160 pounds of lean mass means I should be getting 160 grams of protein per day. That's for me as a man. For a woman, you could probably drop it down a little bit to about 0.8, but that's roughly where you want to be aiming for, right? Now, at the baseline, you should be at least getting that much protein in a day, and that should help with any hunger, because what happens is you've got protein, fats, and carbs. Each macronutrient has like a satiation level. So it keeps you, how do I explain this in a simple way? Certain foods keep you fuller than others, basically, and protein compared to fats and carbs keeps you fuller for longer versus everything else. So if we used to just Google here protein satiation, boom, we'd see that protein keeps you fuller for longer versus all the other foods, right? And what you want to try and do is you want to try and have a high protein diet, because then you're less likely to be hungry. So if we look at it from a hunger scale, we know that things that are high in protein and also high in fiber keep you fuller for longer. Hence why chicken is one of the best things to have, because it keeps you fuller for longer. The next thing I would be looking at alongside the protein is also how much water you're drinking. If you're not drinking enough water, again, you're going to feel hungry throughout the day. And to even add to that, in the morning, how are you starting your day with food? If it's high sugary smoothies and stuff like that, again, that's going to cause you to feel more hungry throughout the day and want to snack and have that constant hunger. So let's break it down. More protein in your diet, at least 1 gram per pound of lean body mass, maybe 0.8 if you're a woman. The next thing is, what did I just say? Fiber. Next thing is water. You want to be getting at least 1.5 to 2 liters per day, if not more, if you can. That's going to help with hunger for sure. Because if you're not hydrated, you're going to be hungry. The first sign of hunger is actually dehydration. The next thing is fiber. And I was going to miss that. If you've got more fiber in your diet, it slows down your digestion, which means you're less likely to be hungry. So that's one of the major benefits of having more fiber is it regulates your blood sugar levels and stops you from becoming too hungry throughout the day. So if you can address those three things, I would probably say you're less likely to be hungry. You are going to be more hungry on training days because you're burning more energy. But again, you can supplement that because you're going to be eating more anyway because you've trained on that particular day, depending on what your goals are, obviously. And so, yeah, that's kind of the three things to address: protein, water intake, and fiber intake. That's a great question, though. And just a reminder that if you want to dive deeper into this on a personal level, feel free to hit that link I put in the chat. Cool. All right, then, guys. So unless there are any more questions, I will drop the link to book a call with me again, just in case. And I will leave the floor for another minute or two. But yeah, that's it in terms of managing stress and then trying to get in shape. Stress is going to be a part of our lives forever, unfortunately. I don't know anybody that lives completely stress-free, but the best thing we can do is put things in place to manage the stress. And like I was saying, those things that I mentioned before are going to help you. You can use them in a combination of ways, whether it's the pod, the water pod, the float tank, yoga, training, of course, getting a full night's sleep, which sounds so basic and simple, but we underestimate the power of sleep. Getting your nutrition right. All these things are essentially going to get you to where you want to get to. I've left the link in the chat for anybody that wants more of a personal one-to-one call. And then I'll be sending out a replay of this as well, so you can rewatch it if you kind of want to just have a little look back at what we spoke about today. Apart from that, guys, I'm going to let you guys enjoy your evening or day, wherever you are in the world. And if you do want to jump on a one-to-one call, that link is in the chat, and I will also send it out as an email again as well. So have a wonderful day, team. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate it.